point out, if I might, that we are 29 days into a Democrat shutdown. And the senator from New Mexico is absolutely right. SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all just figured out, 29 days in, that, oh, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money. Yeah, we're 29 days in. And they've done their best to make sure that a lot of these programs are funded. But at some point, the government runs out of money. 13 times, people over here voted to fund SNAP. 13 times they voted to fund WIC. My aching back. Finally realized this thing has consequences. Well, you know what? What Democrats are doing here, they're making plans to keep the shutdown going. And they realize, all of a sudden, 29 days in, that this is a real consequence.
Well, family, that was recorded as of October 29th, which was yesterday, in regards of Senator John Thune talking. Now, today, the recording of this video when I'm talking to you guys is October 30th, which concludes it, well, which it means it's actually 30 days now during the government shutdown. So that's the situation. But now it's not 13 times. I'm going to give you guys an update as of today, because now instead of 13 times, it has been 15 times, as you guys can see on the screen. And we have Speaker Mike Johnson speaking in regards of the 15th clean continual resolution bill will be voted again on as of today, October 30th, 2025. So now I want you guys to hear what Speaker Mike Johnson had to say, a part of the Republican Party.
Now, they'll have another opportunity today. The Democrats in the Senate will have their 15th opportunity to do the right thing. We're concerned that they won't. And if they reject this for the 15th time, they will be ensuring that this shutdown continues past the November 1st deadline. And that is a fateful deadline for a number of reasons. Starting on Saturday, let me give you a list of things that this means for the American people. It means that tens of millions of American families will struggle to keep food on the table because the SNAP program benefits will run dry. It means that WIC assistance, that's women, infants, and children, the nutrition programs, will be at risk of running dry. It means that Head Start centers, which serve 60,000 children nationwide, will be at risk of closure. Millions of federal workers, and we've listed them here every day. You're talking about air traffic controllers and TSA agents and park rangers and Border Patrol agents, law enforcement around the country. The stewards of our nuclear arsenal will miss their paychecks. Thousands of flights, by result, will be canceled or delayed, while our borders and national security will be directly jeopardized at a very dangerous moment in world history. And our country will lose tens of billions in gross domestic product. With each passing day, the pain gets more real. And the Democrats are guaranteeing when they vote to reject our clean funding resolution. We expect they will do that again today for the 15th time. They are showing no shame whatsoever.
All right, family. So that's the update as of today, October 30th. I wanted to share that with you guys, but I wanted to have a conversation as we continue to go along with the video. And, you know, I give my opinion. Also, I wanted to get you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Now, and this is a Republican senator in Florida, Rick Owens. And I found this interesting because he said this 2 days ago, which was October 28th, in regards of withholding paychecks in Congress. And he is actually working on to suspend paychecks for members of Congress during this government shutdown. And we shouldn't get paid if we don't do our job. And I absolutely agree as well. And I want to get you guys' thoughts down in the comments below, because when you really look at it, and that's how you know who's really playing this game of political theater at the jeopardy of families going hungry and just who is really prioritizing the American people and having their best interests. Now, I get it. Republican Party, Democrat Party, they are not perfect. Either party is perfect, but we can distinguish what's right from wrong based on their actions. And in this case, I have to say that the Republicans are on the right side of things when it comes to prioritizing Americans and having their best interest to keep the government open and keep these programs funded. And as we know, they voted for a vote of 53. When it comes to Congress, Congress controls the purse. And then it's just saying of, oh yeah, the Republicans, they have the power, they have, you know, the most seats in the House and in the Senate and so forth, right? But the thing is, when it comes to Congress, and the House is going to pass because it has the majority of people that are Republican. But the thing is, it has to be fair. So you do need 7 votes from the opposite party, which is in this case, the Democratic Party, and they all voted no. So even if you have 53 votes, you still have to get to that number 60. And that's why individuals have to actually listen and actually attend and pay attention in their physics class, because then they'll know the level and branches of government and how it works and not be ignorant, because the Democratic Party banks on your ignorance, let alone your stupidity for you not to know nothing, so they can play on your ignorance to play this political theater games, right? So they want to play, oh, it's Republicans. Oh, and then Republicans are blaming Democrats. But this shows you is what I'm saying is, if the Republicans were really playing games, why would they take it to the extreme of these withholding everybody paychecks, Republican or Democrat, in regards of individuals that are in the Senate, and saying, wait, we're not going to give y'all a paycheck, because mind you, these people are still getting paychecks, Democrat and Republican. They are still getting paychecks in the Senate. They are still getting their health insurance, and they're still living comfortably fine. And they are stalling at the jeopardy of families and just the everyday working American that are trying to get help through these programs that are shut down and running out of money because the well is going dry. So why would the Republicans propose to withhold their paychecks in the Senate if they weren't serious about making sure that a bill got passed to open these programs to make sure that everyday Americans get help? So now that tells you what party, if you just put on your thinking cap for a minute, who is really prioritizing the everyday American and lobbying the best interests of everyday Americans? Because you don't see Democrats proposing to withhold their paychecks, but Republicans are proposing to withhold their paychecks in the Senate, in the government that is working on the behalf of, supposedly supposed to be working on the behalf of everyday Americans, but these Democrats are not. So a Republican is proposing to withhold paychecks until they do their job to open back up the government to help the American people, in which we voted these people in to have these seats in the Senate.
If you didn't do your job in business, you didn't get paid. You don't show up and do your job, you don't get paid. Why are we getting paid? We shouldn't get paid if we don't do our job. We need to figure out how to work together to get our budgets done. It's as simple as that.
So you're going to offer legislation to not get paid during shutdowns?
Absolutely. I already have a bill. We've got a bill that we don't get paid during the shutdown. Ron Johnson's got a bill that will never have shutdowns. That should pass also. But on top of that, what are the Democrats doing? This is a clean resolution. All we're doing is keeping the funding. Actually, the funding is too high. It's still the Biden funding. But I don't want to shut down government, so I support it. But the Democrats, they want a shutdown for whatever reason. How is this good for the country? Nobody wins with a shutdown. If you didn't do your job in business, you didn't get paid.
Exactly. So that's just common sense. I wanted you guys to hear that. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. But it really exposes who is really taking this serious about opening up the government, because then it helps you mine out the political theater. Because why would they propose to withhold their own paycheck? But the only party that's willing to do that is the Republican Party. Now, what I want to get to is, before we get to this Democrat Senator Peter Welsh, because he was sweating in his boots. I know a lot of people, and I really want to touch on this. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's Donald Trump's fault that he's not allowing Snap. He's allowing Snap to run out of money. It's Donald Trump, bad man, orange man, bad, blah, 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 Donald Trump syndrome, right? And a lot of people keep talking about this $600 billion contingency or emergency fund for Snap. And I know that people are like, well, Trump can keep SNAP running if he just used the emergency fund, right? And I am going to be very, very honest and objective. When it comes to the emergency fund, right? About the 6 billion available until 2026. They are contingency funds to keep SNAP going. True. So, in USDA, which is the Department of Agriculture, confirmed no benefits will go out in November if the shutdown continues. True, right? Now, what I want to get to is let's look at the Trump administration. Trump and most conservatives push a core principle. Government shall live within its means and stop spending money it doesn't have. Common sense. You wouldn't spend money that you don't have because at the end of the day, you won't have it to spend. So when there's a shutdown from a conservative mindset, because we're all conservative when it comes to our money, I find it funny how people want the government to give free handouts, but if it came to your own money, would you give it to somebody you didn't know and give them handouts with your own money? I think the hell not. So it's the same thing with the government. And when you look at this from a conservative mindset, it's not an accident, it's leverage to force Congress to make hard spending cuts, right? In other words, if the government runs out of money, that's the point, it's supposed to wake people up to how bloated and unsustainable federal spending has become because we're spending too much damn money. And every time we print money, the cost of living goes up that everybody complains about. So this $600 billion contingency or emergency fund for SNAP isn't free money. It's already taxpayer money sitting aside that would still count as federal spending if used, right? So from a physical conservative lens, a yearly conservative lens, using that fund just kicks the can down the road. It undermines the message that the government is broke and needs discipline. And what do people that are not disciplined with money? They splurge, right? To the simple fact where they hit a wall and then they have self-inflicted wounds where now they have all this debt. And then they wonder why they can't get ahead because you cannot climb a mountain with rocks in your damn backpack. That's just common sense. So it relieves pressure on Congress to reopen government responsibly from a conservative mindset in the Trump administration because we know that the Trump administration supports not having bloated government, meaning government shouldn't be able to control everyday American lives. And it puts the hand back into the American people to actually control the government and who we vote for and also what they are doing. That's why you see Rick Owens, that clip that we just seen of him proposing if the government shuts down, then nobody in the Senate that has a seat should get paid until they operate on the best interest of American people. That is the soul of the Republican Party. Do your job and stop playing around and stop sitting here splurging money because you're not really worrying about the American people. You're worrying about fattening your own pockets for your own self-interest. But the people that voted you in, which is the American people, was trusting you and entrusted you to have their best interests. So when you look at the Trump administration, they're saying power to the people and American first. This is a pro-American administration. So basically, spending that reserve would send a signal that even if we don't fix our budget mess, the program keeps going anyway. If he used that $6 billion contingency or emergency fund, right? And that weakens the conservative, aka Republican, argument about the need to shrink the federal budget and stop runaway entitlement growth, meaning entitlement programs, because if they keep putting money into these programs, then that means the cost of living is going to keep going up and they're not having your best interest because they just keep printing money and they keep throwing money at a problem. So if you use emergency money, if you use your life savings or your emergency money that you save for emergency, and you can obviously, if you use and you exhaust your emergency savings and then you go ask for a loan to hold you over to fund the very thing that you're trying to do, like pay your bills, when that well comes dry from your emergency savings, but you keep taking loans out, payday loans that you can't pay back, eventually you're going to hit a wall. And then what happens is those loans gain interest. And now you have debt that you can't pay. And now you're sitting here basically living a life trying to catch up with your debts. But your debt keep going up based on the interest because you can't pay it down. Well, what happens when the same thing when you look at government? If they borrow, if they exhaust the emergency funds and then they sit there and pass a bill to spend more money, what the hell you think is going to happen? They're going to max out the credit card of the federal government, right? And what happens is interest goes on top of that. And then the taxpayer, us, everyday Americans, suffer. So it's discipline through discomfort. The philosophy is I'm saying. The harsh truth is when it comes to being conservative with your money, which we all are, we don't just throw our money or hand our money out. We want to do what we want to do with our money. And we're not just going to give it to anybody because most people, let's be real, don't play about their damn money. So conservatives often see temporary pain as a necessary consequence of big government mismanagement. Now, it's not saying that they want this shutdown, but they're saying is we're not going to spend extra money because we have to fix in-house and get the mismanagement down pack. We already spend enough money, which is why the government credit card is already maxed out. So if you take out a loan and then you go try to take out another one, don't you think you should fix how you budget your money before you go ahead and try to take out another loan that you can't even pay off? This is just common sense stuff. So in their view, if we use emergency funds every time there's a crisis, then there's never no real incentive to fix the system. Right? Think of it like this. If you're trying to teach your household to budget, but every time you overspend, you dip into your savings, you'll never stop overspending. That's common sense. That's where the Republicans is coming when it comes to these healthcare subsidies, right? And we didn't even get to the healthcare part yet. But I really want people to understand why we shouldn't go into these emergency funds and why the Republicans are not going into the emergency funds and why Donald Trump is not going to use the emergency funds when it comes to that $6 billion. Now, let me explain a little bit more before we move on to the next topic. When you look at this, right? Let's stop pretending this is about Trump cutting food stamps because I'm tired of hearing that crap. It's propaganda. This is about Democrats refusing to control spending while demanding even more government programs that working class taxpayers have to pay for. And what happens when you do that, right? You continue to print money. The Democrats want you to depend on the government so they have more control in your life. That's why they want to continue to spend more so you can't get ahead. It's the same thing to the metaphor when I said about having rocks in your backpack and you can't climb a mountain because you can't cry about SNAP funding when the same people blocking the budget, which is the Democrats, are trying to pump billions more into healthcare subsidies that don't even make healthcare cheaper. So Obamacare has been funded for over a decade and premiums keep rising. And that's not compassion, that's failure. Because now here's the most part people skip. Yes, there's an emergency fund, right? There's an emergency fund for SNAP. And there's also emergency fund for the military, right? So put it like this. That emergency rescue plan, the emergency fund for SNAP, additionally also for the military. I mean, you want to keep that because you want to make sure we have national security. I mean, this is America. This is United States of America. We have a lot of enemies. Even though we try to do business, we don't have to because when it comes to business, there's no place for feelings. So we can be peaceful and cordial, and you scratch my back, I scratch yours when it comes to trade agreement and resources, but not depend on other countries for resources, make our own resources. But at the end of the day, as a United States of America, we the one that control the market. You want to know why we control the market? Because we have a lot of people that buy as consumers that make these other countries rich. So if we exchange resources like from trade deals, then they eat and they succeed as a country, benefiting off of us, and we benefit off of them by the things they give us as during that's agreed upon with the trade agreement. So you have to understand that when it comes to Americans, we spend money. I'm sure you know that. So we control the markets when it comes to how successful other countries come. That's why they always want to do business here and eat off the backs of the United States of America, because they know that we are the major customers that are willing to spend our money. So getting to this emergency fund, right? I was just explaining why we need national security. So if anything, the money would go to national security for the military first. I mean, common sense. I would. Let me know in the comments. Would you want the $6 billion to go to SNAP when you have people that could get off their behind if they able body, if it ain't the elderly or the really disabled? And I ain't talking about them damn people that play crazy, act like they disabled. Because you got some people on disability that act like they play crazy and ain't nothing wrong. I ain't talking about walk up there and act like you don't know 1 + 1 = 2 crazy. I'm talking about actual medicated, actual disability. Like it's inherited, or you've been tested and it's an actual disability, okay? But these people could work. And here go another thing I'm gonna debunk. Oh, well, the job market is crashing. Well, you have to look at what's happening. That's why you can't be ignorant. Because if you be ignorant, then Democrats play off your dependency. The job market, there are jobs. So you have to get a career and you have to get a skill that's always in demand in the way that the market is going. If you have a business, you're not going to hire nobody where they're not adding value to your business to make you more money. That's just common sense. So stop acting like you don't know what these companies looking for. Stop getting a basket weaving degree. Stop getting some bull crap degree talking about arts or whatever. Get a degree in arts later on your side on the spare time. But actual get an in-demand skill that's viable in the market, so you can actually be viable to a company and actually they will pay you whatever you want to pay and negotiate your pay because you're viable enough. Show you worth your salt. Get the skills and you'll thrive. Now, the jobs they are cutting off are mostly or mainly the jobs that people are comfortable with. Warehouse working, machine operators. We don't need that no more. If anything, AI is not taking away jobs. They are helping jobs be more efficient. I give you an example. Even with nurses, we'll always physically need a nurse. But at the end of the day, when computers and AI and technology come in, they make them more efficient to be able to serve the patient faster. Common sense, right? So what I'm saying when it comes to people trying to say this whole thing of, oh, well, they telling us we able to work, then why is there no jobs and why are people getting laid off? Well, one, you have to realize when we had illegals come over here, they were taking over the jobs that Americans could have filled, but you have illegal immigrants taking over jobs. So that's why ICE is trying to get rid of individuals who disrespectfully come into the country illegally. That's one. Two, you have to realize that a lot of the companies were outsourcing and actually moving their companies to other countries like Mexico and China. Why did you think Apple came back from China and came back to the United States? The Hyundai plant, the Hyundai cars, they were creating Hyundais in Mexico but selling them in America because the parts and the cost of their actual Hyundai plant would cost too much to operate in the United States based off the taxes. Because the cost of living, this is where Democrats come and talk about, oh, well, the rich need to pay their fair share. Well, if they tax the company like Hyundai, or they tax somebody like Tim Cook, the Apple CEO, right? All these CEOs are going to do is move their companies to cheaper places that are actually still able to have them up and running, but they're able to have more money to be able to even have jobs in the first place. You have to realize that Trump in his first year, he hasn't even been a year yet, had to bring the jobs back and incentivize these companies to come back by giving them tax breaks. So it wouldn't be high, so they actually can maintain doing business in the United States. If you get taxed to death and you have a small business, your business ain't gonna make it. Let's just be real. And 99% of businesses, small businesses, don't make it. Small businesses don't even exist no more like that. The mom and pop shops and all that used to be able to hire a couple kids for the summer or hire college students in the city, they don't exist. Most of your cities in the Democrat sanctuary cities are ghost towns. You want to know why? Because they've been taxed to death, because the Democrats want to keep spending more money on healthcare and all of this stuff that ain't working. They want to keep increasing the government. They want to keep maxing out the government tax the government credit card and they want to keep spending more money, which means higher taxes. And I'm not just talking about those in the Senate and actual the government. I'm talking about those actually running the cities, those actually running the states that are governors, that are mayors. It trickles down. It's a trickle down effect. Democrats have a habit of throwing money at the problem, but it doesn't fix the problem, which in turn why you see the cost going up. And then you see businesses saying, I'm not doing businesses in New York. Are you crazy? They want me to pay all these taxes. How am I going to pay these workers? How I'm gonna give these workers a raise if the state keep taxing me more just to open up shop here? I'm gonna move this crap, and they gonna have to lose their jobs, and I'm gonna move to Texas somewhere. And if I can't do United States, I'm gonna move to Mexico. Mexico gonna love to have it because they benefit off of their ecosystem. So Trump had to bring the jobs back so America can benefit and money starts circulating back in to United States of America, and jobs can actually be created. You can't tax rich people to death because rich people is the one that make the damn jobs. So now when you see these job cuts, they're basically trying to readjust the same way that the government needs to readjust their mismanagement problems, like spending a lot of money, which is why you see Republicans not agreeing to increase the healthcare subsidies because we already spend enough money as a country. And then you wonder why people keep saying that it's high. Groceries are high. Economy is high. Inflation is high. Everything is high. We can't even we can't even live the American dream. We can't even buy a house. Well, you can't buy a house because you got these officials keep spending money, and Donald Trump is saying we're going to be more responsible with our money. We want to put more money in your checks. We want to make sure you're actually able to invest in yourself and not us control the money that you paying in taxes and spend it and put it in these programs and say, hey, well, you got to deal with it. The cost of living is high. Rent is high. You better find a way to live. But instead, he's paving the way so you can live and actually thrive, because then we're actually giving you the money and you're actually able to benefit off of your hard work genuinely, because we're not taking your money and doing whatever we want to do with it as a president, as a official in the government. Actually have your best interest. We want to give you more money so you then can create the pathway for yourself to be able to spend, to be able to get a house. And those dreams are actually reachable. So now the layoffs are basically the government basically saying, look, I mean, the companies like Honda and stuff, not the government. The companies that are doing layoffs right now, UPS, Nestle, Target, Amazon, they are basically saying, look, we're going to cut the jobs off the top, right? Because now, let's say, for example, they tax 15%. Okay, we got to fix in-house and we got to, fix our mismanagement issues. We're going to have to get rid of some of these jobs and we're going to have to readjust to lower the cost. And then once business start up and running, they start making so much money because they're not getting taxed to death, then there'll actually be more jobs created because the businesses is not being taxed to death. But right now, you can't try to walk before you crawl. So now they have to come back to America. They have to build their plants. They have to open up shop. They have to have jobs. Yeah, they'll have jobs, but you won't see it right away that all these jobs are going to be created because we're on a reset. They're coming back to open up shop. So the workers they do have, they're working with what they have and they're lowering the cost because it just cost all this much to build this building to come back to America. So once we recoup the money and make more money than what we spent, then we'll create more jobs. So the jobs will reset, and I think there will be more jobs than ever once the economy shows how lucrative it is based on the precedent that Trump has set. The man only been in office for a year. Things are resetting and shit don't happen overnight. I'm just being honest with you. So when individuals want to sit here talking about, oh, Trump cutting food stamps, he's not. And you can't cry about SNAP funding, like I said, when the same people that's blocking is the Democrats. So here's where most people skip. Yes, there's an emergency fund, but using that fund doesn't make the money free. It's still taxpayer money. And when that runs out, where do you think the government gets more? Higher taxes, higher insurance premiums, higher cost of living for the same working people already getting crushed by inflation. So we in the same damn problem, making it even worse. I wouldn't pass the damn bill either to spend more on healthcare subsidies. If that's the case, I'm doing a disservice as a president to the American people that voted and trusted me to reset this economy and help it to thrive and have more jobs and have more money in their checks. So Trump not going to touch that fund, that emergency fund, and it isn't cruel. It's called physical discipline. It's called budgeting. It's called being disciplined with your money. This man is a businessman. You don't fix overspending by spending more damn money. You fix it by forcing Congress, both parties, to live within the budget they already have. And that's called the continuing resolution. They don't want to spend no more money, but they say keep the budget where it's at and just agree to open up the government. Democrats said, no, we want more. So I'm giving it to you in the plain, just easy to understand situation, right? If you in a relationship and y'all got goals, right? And y'all want to get a house, or y'all want to go on vacation, or y'all want to invest in assets, real estate, whatever. If you keep spending the damn money before you make the damn money, how you going to achieve those goals? So if your girl doing it or your man doing it, obviously they don't really care about, they're not really serious about achieving those goals. Y'all going to be in a rat race and y'all just going to be working till y'all die. Yeah, you can have fun and ball out all you want. Keep spending the damn money if that's what you're going to do. But that's ignorance. So like I said, if Democrats really cared about helping low-income Americans, they'll stop blocking funding bills because they didn't get everything they wanted. We just need 60 votes. Republicans had 53 and 15 Democrats voted no. That's what killed SNAP funding, not Trump. But now let's go on to what this damn man name? I just forgot his name. Senator Peter Welch. This is a Republican senator. This man's about to start sweating in his boots because he can't answer no real damn questions.
The obligation piece, because the other component part of this is, you have this bill now to try to keep SNAP benefits going. Ted Cruz has a bill now that he wants to pursue around, keeping TSA folks employed and on the job and getting their paychecks. It seems to me we may be sort of creating a moment where we're going to have piecemeal component parts of the government that stay open and piecemeal parts of the government that we decide don't stay open, so that this then can extend and go on, in perpetuity. And that seems like a terrible idea, too.
Well, I agree with you. I think shutdowns are terrible. And it's an indication, quite frankly, of the breakdown of the political process here. And you can cast blame on both sides, but this is the 6th time in 30 years we've had a shutdown. And recently, you've also seen debt ceiling crises where there's a threat not to default on our debt. So this is a serious indication of the breakdown of the process. But one of the existential fights here, beneath the surface, but really important to Americans, is the cost of health care. I mean, it has been rising way faster than inflation.
Here we go.
It's a killer for small businesses that really have benefited by the Obamacare tax credits. They've been able to afford to continue to provide health care for the workers who they really value. So I'm with you on the overall critique of shutdown as a tactic. It really is not something that's desirable.
You can vote.
But
You can
there
vote.
is a real issue about health care.
You're always reasonable when you come on, and I've said that. And you're almost conceding that you should not be shutting down the government, that the Democrats should not be doing that. And I don't think you'd ever say that extortion is the way that Republicans should get their way if they don't like the IRA or they don't like overspending or whatever it is at any given point in time where the other party has a disagreement. This is not the way to do it. As far as Obamacare, you probably realize a lot of these premium increases are just built into Obamacare. The expiration of the pandemic subsidies is only a very small part of the increases. So that discussion has to be had about fixes to Obamacare so it doesn't keep spiraling, the costs don't keep spiraling. But you're not going to do that before we reopen the government. It's not going to happen. It's going to have to happen afterwards. Are you ready to vote with the Republicans to reopen the government at this point as a reasonable Democrat? Maybe others would follow you.
I'm not there yet because we have had literally, Joe, no discussion whatsoever about how we're going to deal with these spikes in premiums.
This is the right way to do it, Senator? By people not getting paychecks at the TSA? This is extortion. You think this is the right way to do it? In your conscience, you think it's the right way to do it? I never thought I'd say that, Andrew, that as a human being, he always says that. As a human being, you think this is the right thing to do? That's your line.
Well, that's why Senator Hawley on have our bill to make sure that folks get the nutrition that they absolutely need is why the president is paying the troops.
This nigga just moved the goalpost. She said, Senator Hawley, we ain't talking about Senator Hawley. We talking about you. He just asked you, is this the right way to go? He's talking about we haven't had discussions yet. And that's why we want a bill for snapping funding. Bro, this is that I'm talking about. This is that word solid crap.
But there is something that we've all got to acknowledge here, okay? The administration has had an attack on health care, as we know it. The Medicaid cuts were immense. They're going to have real impacts on individuals, and they're going to have impacts on state budgets and community.
No, they're going to have real impacts on able-bodied people that shouldn't be getting free health care if they could go to work and actually get insurance through their job. See, they don't want to talk about that part. I'm going to leave it here because he getting on my nerves. If you want to watch the rest, you're welcome to. But let me break this whole thing down for the people in the back, and then we're going to get up out of here. So the folks, right, who tuned in late, and the ones who've been lied so much by the government and the media, they don't even know what's real anymore, right? So I gave you guys the update. It's not 13 times. The Republicans have literally tried 15 times to pass clean bills, clean CRs, meaning keeping the budget the way it is, just to reopen the government. Democrats keep saying no. Why? Because they hate Trump more than they love the American people. It's called the Donald Trump syndrome, right? Real talk. That's it. And they rather watch planes fall out the sky and kids go hungry because that's their favorite line, and then work with someone they don't like politically. That's how twisted it's gotten. And this ain't about a shutdown. This is about power. This is about pride and the scam that is our healthcare system. Yes, I said it, scam. Oh my goodness, how could you say that? Well, Democrats are trying to turn this shutdown to a healthcare war because they know the far left is on their necks. Meaning, we all know that the Democratic Party has been fighting themselves within their own party. They have infighting. And the Democrats are trying to, the progressives, I'm talking about, the anti-left radicals of the Democratic Party, smells blood, and they want to use this as an excuse to demand more government health care, more socialism, right? Health care for everybody. Well, see, that opens the door for us to break down the whole system as one giant scam. Because let's be real, the Democratic Party is not the traditional Democratic Party that my grandparents rocked with. This is a Democratic Party that obviously condones in socialism. Free everything, free everything for everybody, everything be government rant. And that's why you got Zoran Mudami over there, who's not from America. We have a person that's a foreigner um running to be mayor of New York, and it seems like New York is going to get him as a mayor. And I'm telling you right now, New York is in over their head, and trust me, they're gonna get everything they deserve. They want free this, free that, free that. Oh, what happens? The question is, nobody never asks is what you gonna do when you run out of money. But anyway, that's what socialism is. You keep throwing money at the problem, and the Democrat has been going so far. They have been so radical now that the Democratic is basically now associated with socialism because Zoran Mudami is a Democrat. But see, that opens the door for us to break down how the whole system is a scam, like I said, because Obamacare didn't make healthcare more affordable. It turned into a bloated mess designed to funnel your tax dollars straight into the pockets of big pharma, big insurance, and big hospital, and every other corporate leech attached to DC. And if you don't believe me, let me walk you through it, right? It's like I'm holding my 5-year-old hand. Because once you see this play, you're not going to be able to unsee it. So let's talk real history. Back in the day, and yes, I'm only a 1999 baby. Who was you to be talking about back in the day? Oh, the hell well. I'm talking about back in the day. So before the government stuck its grubby little hands into healthcare, it actually worked. Oh my goodness. You want to know why it worked? Damn it. I'm talking 1800s. I'm talking early 1900s. People used to form these things called lodges. Yes, lodges. You want me to spell it for you? Okay. Where regular working folks poured their money and hired doctors directly. No middleman, no paperwork, no insurance, just straight up competition. And guess what? It kept costs low. Oh my goodness, really? Yes, really. Doctors had to fight for your business, meaning they had to earn your money. But the doctors didn't like that. Oh no, they didn't. They didn't like being treated like service providers. So what did they do? They lobbied the government for regulations. They shamed doctors who took lodge contracts, and they squeezed them out until these lodges couldn't operate anymore. Fast forward. Now we got a Frankenstein monster of a healthcare system where nobody knows what anything costs. Hospitals charge you $400 for some darn Tylenol. And the government is cutting backdoor deals with drug companies while acting like they here to help the little guy. You can miss me with that. If you want another example, cool. Why do we have a doctor shortage in this country? Because back in the 90s, the American Medical Association, aka the cartel of doctors, pushed the government to cap how many residency slots Medicare would fund. Residency is how doctors get trained. No residency slot, no doctor's license. So instead of increasing supply to meet demand, they said, nah, let's limit the number of new doctors so our salaries stay sky high. And that's like McDonald's saying, we don't want no new locations opening because we like being the only burger in town. That's not competition. Okay? That's protectionism. And it's killing the system because then you got the Affordable Care Act. And let's keep it a buck. Nothing about it is affordable. It literally bans most new physician owned hospitals from joining Medicare or Medicaid. Why? Because big hospital lobby for it. So you realize the small hospitals don't stick around too long, only the big ones. And they didn't want competition from doctors opening new, more efficient hospitals. So now doctors can't even open facilities that take government insurance, meaning fewer hospitals, less competition, and higher prices. And every time you ask, why is healthcare so expensive? This is why. So the system is rigged to block out new players, to protect the big boys, and to guarantee taxpayer money flows into the pockets uninterrupted. And you think socialized medicine is about helping the poor? No, it's about helping the elite stay rich. It's the same play they ran with college, right? Look at student loans, right? College used to be affordable. At least that's what my grandma told me. Then the government said, hey, we give you unlimited loans to anyone who asks, even if it's a basket weaving degree. Like some major arts, even though you can't come out here and do nothing with that, will probably be a teacher assistant. And I'm not knocking teacher assistants. We need those. We need all of those. And I actually rock with you. Shout out to my teacher assistants out there. There's no shade. But I'm saying if somebody thinking they're getting a degree and they coming out in the job market and think they're gonna have a lucrative career making money that they want to with their desired salary, and then they come out with this degree that ain't have a demand and it's not skillful for companies, then they get upset. But the colleges will make you feel like, oh, this is a major degree, and the government be like, oh my goodness, you could take out much money as possible to get this degree. You're so smart, right? And we're raising tuition every year, but they give you unlimited amount of loans to anyone who asks, and the colleges say, bet we're gonna raise the tuition every year until the wheels fall off this joker. Now you got folks paying $100,000 for gender studies degrees. Can't get a job and want you to pay off the debt. $100,000 is 2 loans. And what's the result? The exact same thing that's happening in healthcare. It's bloated prices, skyrocket all the way to the moon, broken incentives that don't promise you nothing but just you to be in debt and no return on investment for it. But they don't care. It's a business. They just want the money and they want you to be the constant payer of it. Because just to think about it. If someone owe you $100,000 in student loans and you ran a college, they're gonna be paying you for life. especially with a degree that ain't gonna pay them back to be able to, ain't gonna pay them way over that to be able to pay that student loan back. They're gonna be paying you till they dead. So now you're a long-term customer. And don't pay it if you want and see what they come after. Especially student loans and medical bills. You realize they the major ones that don't get off your credit and they will come at you. They will garnish you, bro. Like, you talking about? Like a second form of IRS. So, and you can't do nothing with your life. So they're gonna get their money. And if you think you're gonna dodge it, interest rates is gonna go out the sky, it's gonna go to the roof. So I say all that to say, um, healthcare is bloated, prices, broken incentives, and the entire industry that exists to squeeze every last penny out of working class Americans. And when the bills come due, they go, don't worry, we'll just subsidize it. Translation, we'll just steal more of your tax money to pay off the problem we created. You see how that works? It's the oldest trick in the book. Break the system, then sell yourself as a solution. And now you got senators straight up on national TV admitting that Obamacare still isn't affordable, even with the subsidies. And they want more subsidies on top of subsidies. So let me get this straight, right? We build a system to lower costs, and then we lower the lower costs. And that only works if we keep pouring in more government money forever. Get the hell out of here. There ain't nothing sustainable about that. That's called a Ponzi scheme. And the worst part is they got a nerve to say, "Oh well, if you repeal it, you're hurting Trump voters." What? First of all, we didn't want this trash in the first place. You shoved it down our throats and told us it would solve everything. And now that it's falling apart, you want to use the American people as emotional leverage to keep the scam going. And that's why they walk around talking about people are getting off their health care tomorrow. They're going to die. That's why you keep hearing that stuff. And they still getting paid with their health care is still active. Walking around the Capitol, walking around the government, walking around the government building, chilling. Talking about, nope, we're not opening the government. Y'all going to have to starve. It's Hunger Games out here. You know how crazy that is? And they act like they they have so a humane feeling and deep heart feeling for understanding. Bro, anytime somebody say, look, bro, we don't care if you starve, and they look down on you after they helped you, and then they say we're gonna pull the rug from under you, and they act like they gave you a food for a certain period of time, and then they took that food and basically say you ain't getting no more. Boy, they don't care about you at all, boy. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. This is like a 47-minute video. But look, I gave a lot of game. I gave a lot of information. Share it with your grandma. Share it with your grandpa. Share it with your sister, cousin, etc. I'm out. Peace.